I don't want to mess in. So, Mbaduro, after the program, say Alan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're officially live. It's popping up on Facebook, I believe. Okay, good.
So, Tom, anyone
I think
speaking?
we're.
Should we mute ourselves or what?
Oh no, you don't have to. If it's not loud there at all, it's not a problem. So shouldn't be an issue at all. But we're live now. We'll start any moment from now. Just give it like a minute, and then we can crack on. Okay, just let me double check one more time to make sure that we are steadily here. Okay, cool. So we're here. We're going to start to make sure that I don't eat into you guys' time, and I don't also eat into my time. It's Sunday. There's always something going on. People have plans with their family and things to do. So um, we're going to begin, and as I always do, begin by introducing myself once again. My name is Ebrima. I am the host of the Dialectic Space podcast that comes your way every weekend, Saturdays, and sometimes Sundays as well, where I host Gambians from various parts of the world who are engaged in various sorts of personal and professional work that I think is shaping and influencing lives and livelihoods around the world. And today, I have the singular honor of hosting really incredibly smart individuals that I've known for many, many years. Some of them I've worked with, some of them I've went to school with, and I've come to know them both personally and also professionally as well. And so I would like to begin on a really high spirit and on a high note by thanking all of you for taking the time to be here with me to have a conversation about the recent survey by Gambia Participate and to briefly introduce my guests. And they also have an opportunity to talk about who they are, what they do. But I have with me Mr. Marr, who is the executive director of Gambia Participate, the Gambia. And I also have Touba Marr. Touba is the founder and executive director of Data Ed, which is a recently founded business entity here in the United States and also in the Gambia. And we also have Ebrima Dampha, who is the former president of the University of the Gambia Students' Union and currently at the London School of Economics as a HR specialist. And I am the host, Ebrima, and I am also the founder of this podcast that comes your way every weekend. So before we go any further, I would like to give the opportunity to my guests for each of them to very briefly tell us who they are and what organizations or professional entities that they work with and what inspires them to do the work that they do. I'll first begin with Touba Marr.
Hello, everyone. My name is Touba Marre. Yes, so I'm here as a data scientist. Not only as a data scientist, I'm also here as representative of the people who actually do not have the opportunity to read the survey or actually interpret numbers. So I come here in that regard to be able to have a conversation with the people of the Gambia, a conversation with my colleagues, but most importantly, also a conversation with Marr, who is the executive director of Gambia Participate, who actually wrote the report that that is in question. In the same vein, I also want to take the opportunity to thank Mar. I am Mar, and Mar is Mar. So we have two Mars and two Ibrahimas here in the midst. So
No, I didn't even see that. That's crazy. You're actually right.
I am Mari Tuba, and that's Mar Nyang, and you have the two Ibrahimas. So I think it's going to be a great conversation. So being someone so interested in numbers, I would say by extension, I'm also here to represent the High Court of Mathematics or Mathematical Sciences and Data Science to be able to have a conversation around numbers and interpret them to our people the way I see them. So, Ebrima, thank you for the opportunity.
You're just flexing on us, but I'll go with Ebrima.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tom Ibrahim, for once again inviting me to your show. Quite and always interesting to have a conversation around you on issues that are burning in our country. My name is Ebrima Dampha. Um, I work at the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE, as a Human Resource Operations Recruitment Lead. Um, Former president of the University of the Gambia Students Union. Yeah, pretty much. And happy to be here to discuss the research report with you all. Um, to talk about the generalization of the findings, um, to look at the interpretations and have my opinion about them. And hopefully we will have a fruitful discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dampha. Mr. Marr?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, the two Ibrahimas. And Mar, I wish you could change your name or last name to Mar. It's a pleasure to be here. And I think I will be here more to answer questions. But Touba Mari, if you're expecting me to be a defendant in your in your mathematics court, you will not find me there. I'm not a mathematician, and I did not also author the report. I'll just speak on the data, and I think I'm here more to answer questions. But do not drag me to mathematical debates because you're not going to find me to speak about mathematics. I think Ibrahim Dampha will be better off to be by that, or Lamin Dampha of CepRass. But really, I look forward to this discussion. I read your piece to Marre, and I also read your piece, Ibrahim Dampha, and I learned from both of you, honestly. But it's interesting, and I look forward to the questions that I will be answering.
Well, thank you all very much, gentlemen. It's really wonderful to have you all with me this morning here in Seattle, and I believe different time zones depending on where you are right now. But to lay the foundation, I think it is important before we get into the issues proper to have the purpose for which we're gathered here today, which is to analyze the Gambia Participate survey that just came out ahead of the 2026 presidential elections in the Gambia to put out the various perception of the individuals that they actually conducted the survey or the areas that they conducted the survey at. So the appropriate person to begin this conversation would definitely be Mr. Marr to tell us in very brief about Gambia Participate and just in summary, but also talk to us about what inspired the survey and what are the outcomes of the survey. So in a very comprehensive way, talk to us about Gambia Participate and then talk to us about the survey, because I think there is also a lot of confusion. People are saying that, oh, this is not Gambia Participate, this is CepRass. Other people are also saying this is not CepRass, this is Gambia Participate. So I think there has to be some amount of clarity in that respect. People have questions in that regard. So broadly speaking, and take your time, talk to us about your organization, but also what inspires the institution of this survey, and really, how do you come to a decision to sanction it through CepRass as an organization?
Thank you, Rama. So, everyone that knows Gambia Participate knows we do a lot of work on elections, anti-corruption, and then also budget-related issues. We are very interested in the issue of data, even though we do hire experts that work on those issues here at Gambia Participate, but we also do work with external organizations like CepRass and CRPD. Now, it's important to just give a context, right? Some people are saying that why is it that this is the first time you are doing this type of poll? You have not done any poll work before. It is important to just bring light to this question. This is not the first time that we've been doing polls, right? In 2020, we had concerns. We received complaints that certain communities were paying more than they were receiving water supply. So we used community scorecard, and we collected data from different communities. More specifically, it was Bundung, Bakau, Banjul, and Bakote, to understand why this were happening. And then we collected the data, reported it, and then invited NAVEC, and they accepted some of our findings, and they disagreed with other findings. But the most important thing was we were able to get the facts and put it out there. And the same year, 2020, COVID-19 broke out, right? We worked with CepRass. This was not a survey. We worked with CepRass again. And this was our first time working with CepRass in 2020. We co-authored a report called Corona, the Gambia, and the Millions. This was more of a fact-finding, where we actually went to different parts of the identified treatment centers or isolation centers across the country. From there, you heard that there were monies that were distributed. About 80,000 deserving households were supposed to receive rice, oil, sugar, and then you name it. But we also received complaints that certain people were not receiving the package that were meant to be distributed to them. So we worked with CepRass, and we had a sample size of 1,176 across all distribution points, and this was supposed to be 80,000 deserving households. And we wrote a report on that. This was in 2021. And fast forward 2022, 2023, we also work again with CepRass to use to do what we call social audits, to audit services, right? At the Gambia Ferry Service. And then also there was another one that we have contracted to do. And then we hired CRPD. So they were doing this simultaneously. CRPD was doing the Banjul Rehabilitation Project, and then Brikama Area Council, the Brikama Health Facility, right? So we did 4 social audits, 2 by CepRass and 2 by CRPD. And findings were made, and we put it out. In fact, that was one of the main reasons why we went out, because during this survey, we realized that certain people were complaining that when they go to the ferry at the cashier, they will give $50, but when the ferry is about to leave, the cashier will tell them, "I'll wait it," right? So they will be taking the changes, and we didn't get facts, so we had to go and then interview the people and establish the facts. And we reported that. We invited Gambia Ferry Service, and the answer was they don't normally have the small denominators, and that could be one of the reasons why. And for us, we didn't think that was a genuine justification, because irrespective, where you are, both of you, Marre and Lamin, even if it's going to be a cent when you buy anything, if your change is a cent, they give it to you back, right? So we've been doing a lot of work in this area. So this year, we are supposed to do a poll, and I don't want to preempt what that poll is going to be. It's actually going to come out.
You don't want to break it to us, man.
I'm not going to break it here. So we did a poll. We contacted CepRass again, because the poll that we are doing, another organization, I don't even want to mention that, but let me be transparent. Another organization have done similar work, but if we contact that organization, it will seem as if we are actually going back to that organization to do the same thing. So we decided to contract another organization so we get the perspectives and compare the data, right? So we felt that there was hot topic that was going on in this country. And these hot topics were whether President Barrow should run for a third term, right? There's so many people saying he should not run, others are saying he must run because the constitution guaranteed that. But what is the percentage of the population of the Gambia that are for or against this? And the same thing for Oceano Dabo, right? Some are saying he should run, others are saying he should give chance to the younger ones. But what are the population of Gambians that are saying yes to this or no to that? The same thing for the succession within the UDP, right? Others are saying Njang should be the successor, others are saying Rahim Malik Law, others are saying Talib, others are saying others. So we decided to put the question out there. If Oceano Dabo is not to run and someone else is to succeed him at UDP, who will be the preferred candidate? We need to get the facts. So we put as an open-ended question, meaning it was not only limited to it was not limited to Talib, it was not limited to Rahim Malik Law, and then also Yang Kubadabo. It was an open-ended question, and then that's why we have another category, we call it orders, right, where they mention other candidates, but those people do not come closer to what Rahim Malik Law scored, neither that of Talib and that of Yang Kubadabo. But we're also interested because others are saying Usainu Dabo is going to run anyways. So we wanted to know with the pick, and these are facts that you cannot actually dispute. We know in our political space here, right, the younger, politicians are coming up, right, and the issue of Talib was also coming up. We wanted to know whether the population supports Talib running on the independent ticket or with UDP. We wanted to get the facts, but we also wanted to know, because there are certain individuals who are saying we need to get away from this two-party system, UDP and NPP.
The binary.
Yes, and it was intentional that we put our question that way, because you know why? We're interested in certain facts, and I mean, I think Touba and Lamin knows this more than I do, right? If you're doing a survey and you're interested in certain information, you define the scope of your questionnaire. The questionnaire will determine the type of result that you're actually going to get. So we wanted to know what is the population of Gambia that believe that a coalition can dismantle this two-party system. You understand? So we put that out there. So this were the objectives, right? And then the last thing was, okay, after all this, who do you think stands the best chance of winning the 2026 election, right? And we wanted to know, where do all of these candidates actually stand? So this were the objective of the polls.
Okay.
And I mean, it's fascinating because the thing is, this was done in a very credible way. I don't have access to CepRass data. I don't have access to CepRass database. I don't have access to the daily information that is coming from the enumerators. This was totally outsourced. It was our initiative. To answer your question, it's an initiative of Gambia Participate, and we contracted CepRass to do this work for us, just like we have done with CepRass for the past 5 years, right? So CepRass was consulted to do this job, and it's not just fair that I mean, it's okay. We need to criticize, right? I mean, Dampha is, I mean, and Ajaz or CepRass actually, and CRPD, they are one of the top, I mean, research organizations.
Credible. They're very credible.
Before, we used to outsource our contracts outside the Gambia. And I believe that has to come to an end. If you have the local expertise, like the community scorecard that I was referring to, initially we outsourced it outside the Gambia. But now we actually propagate this with CRPD and CepRass, and they started using it. And before we go outside, we use our local expertise. The knowledge and skills is here, right? So that was it. And I hope that answers your question, who was behind this survey.
Thank you very much, Marr. It's good that you didn't get to the outcomes yet, because we'll get into that. It's good that you laid the foundation for us for what inspires you to actually make the decision to one, institute this survey, but also to work with CepRass as well. And really, kudos to CepRass at this juncture. Before we proceed, I think it is absolutely important for us to continue to have institutions as important as this that would enhance our democracy that we're so working extremely hard to build. And that's a sign of growth in our democratic process as well. So we need more organizations like CepRass, like Data Ed, more and more research centers. I remember Gambia, the Commission on Political Debates, we wanted to do something like this. Marr is aware with Bakari Fati as well. But you know where we all are right now. But before I have Touba, who I believe have tons of questions that he's definitely going to bring to the table to Marr for some clarifications, I'm going to bring in Ebrima first, because the reason I'm doing this, because this is not a for or against the outcome of the report. I don't want it to be that. This is a conversation that we want to have based on legitimate and some extent, in fact, objective issues that you both highlighted in your articles that you wrote. It just happens that Ebrima happens to be on the political side that really acquiescence or is in alignment with the report that comes out. And it's becoming also increasingly apparent that Touba on the other side happens to also aligns with an individual from one political party that I think fancies, right? So either way, regardless of how you look at it, I think
No, no.
you're welcome.
That's I'm not here as a political alignee or political on a political alignment. I am here, like I said in the beginning. I'm a data scientist. Like if you want to characterize me to someone else, be specific, say it, and if there's any clarifications needed, be rest assured that to our special Marre will hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, but I did not. That's not the point I was
But
making.
you are saying I am aligned. I want that to be clear. This is a program that will be watched by President Adam Barrow, Donald Trump, and every other person. So I want clarity.
Okay, so the question is, before we even proceed, just so you're clear, are you saying, in fact, that you are not in support of the candidacy of Yankuba Dabo?
Yankuba Dabo is not a presidential candidate. As we speak, there are no presidential candidates in the Gambia officially and formally. And by that, on this day, on Sunday, today,
Yes.
there are no presidential candidates in the Gambia. So that question, I think, in mathematics, we call it undefined. The denominator of that question is zero. It is unfounded. We don't have presidential candidates. I am in support of Yankuba as a relative and as a cousin brother. He's passing. I support that. I've never seen Yankuba saying that he is going to vie for presidency in Gambia as it stands. So with that, I will answer that question. Hopefully, when the candidates are there and Yankuba is one of them, then we can come to that. Thank you, Ibrahim.
Thank you very much for that clarification. I think it's okay if all of us, or if any of us have political preference or who we prefer, or even if, for example, the report that came out is in furtherance of an interest of a particular person, I think that's okay. It's not a problem. I don't think it's wrong for anyone to have any political alignment with anybody, and that brings me to Ebrima. Ebrima, what is your assessment so far of the report that comes out, and you've used the report very politically to propel, in many ways, your ideal candidate whom you think should take the reign of flag bearership of your party. But generally, what is your reception of the report?
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom. That's quite an essential question. First of all, um, I am one person who like to belong because I think belongingness is an
Important.
essential component of human life. So I am somebody who aligned myself with Talib Bensouda. I don't know if he wants to be president of the Gambia, but I want him to be president of the Gambia. I just want that to be clear in the beginning of the conversation. However, my article about critiquing those who criticize the research was purely academical. And that is why if you read my article, you will understand that even though I want to support every aspect of that research, but I have expressly established areas on the research that I felt could have been done better. And that is because I was looking at it from an academic point of view. If I was looking at it from a political point of view, was going to tick everything. I was going to say the research is 100% correct. But because I was not, that is why I have given the benefit of the doubt and give a limitation to the research. So for me, generally, going back to your question, I think the research is top notch. I think the research, in fact, in
Let
terms
me
of
just, let me just quickly say as a caveat,
yeah.
Ebrima is absolutely and unequivocally United Democratic Party and Team Talib. And so most of what he puts out, even though it's academic, I just want to push back on that a little bit, even though you make the position that you argue and support the report based purely on academics. It's also a lot of what I think you're pushing is the fact that it's politically expedient, is in furtherance of the interest of the person that you support. So I think in some ways that could blow the lines a little bit. So it's hard,
Yes, yeah. So Tom, there's no pushback. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
When I make comments that are in support of the report that is political, I want to make sure I make that clear. And when I make sure I make comments that I believe are purely academic, I also want to make sure I do that clear. And that is why if you read the summary of my report, well, let me not call it a summary, but a preamble, I have extensively argued the reason why I aligned to the report and give reason to that which I will, inform the public or say here. And I've also say why I think the report might fall short, or where it might fall short, or the areas that it could be done better. So you're 100% right in terms in regards to what you said. So um, going back to your question punctuate. So for me, I'm looking at it from the perspective of research, both in terms of theory and practice. This research was very, very necessary because in academics, research are mostly demanded or authorized by the status quo of the day. So if you look at in what is happening in the Gambia, there are no prominent or burning questions in terms of who's going to be the flag bearer of which party, in terms of who is going to win Barrow, in terms of whether Barrow is going to go ahead again and stand for a third time, in terms of whether Usainu Dabo will go for a sixth time in a row. So, well, six time trying. So definitely this research is very, very important. And in terms of academic research, it comes in time because it aims to answer the questions of the day. And that is why we conduct research. So I personally find it very timely, and I think it is very, very necessary. So for me, like I said earlier, I look at certain portions of the research. When the research came out, I'll be purely honest. My intention when I was reading the research is all what I do in the research from a political view is what and what in this research can I use in favor of my preferred candidate, in favor of my political party, that is the UDP. But the truth of the matter is this research is not in favor of who I support. This research is not in favor of Talib Bensouda. It's not in favor of UDP. What the report is saying is that the most likely candidate to win the elections, as we speak, if we go to elections today, is Adama Barrow. The fact that we are a country that goes with simple majority, if we go to the polls now, Adama Barrow is going to win. But if there are certain changes that happen or certain issues that happen, there might be shift from here and there. So the research does not actually favor me, right? So, but one of the things that I looked at when I was looking at the research to conclude whether the research is intact or not is I look at the credibility of the institutions. As former president of the university, it was under my auspice when I was when I was in my presidency when CepRass came into existence, and I bear witness of the credibility of the people that work there. Not just their personal credibility, but their academic credibility. How smart and intelligent they are, and their history in terms of research. And of course, Gambia Participate, I'm not here to speak for them, Marr have done that already. So beyond the credibility of the person who sanctioned the research and the researchers itself and the institution itself, now going to the report, I looked at the first, what everybody look at is the summary, where they got the inspiration of their data. And if you look at the report, they got the inspiration from the past survey results. And you could look at it specifically, national survey results, and see how the demographics were demarcated. So because of that, and because of the mathematical parts of it, if you look at the research, everybody that they ask is a registered voter. Well, not a registered voter, but eligibility to vote. So that is something that, every researcher or every pollster in the US, in the UK, back in Africa, those are the things they look at. Whether the person you are asking is a registered voter, or whether they are a likable voter. Because not all registered voters are likable voters. Someone can be a likable voter, but they will not be a registered one. So I looked at that and I understand that they got a sample that is very important. Got a sample of 1,556. And that sample is a pure and direct representation of the different constituents of our country. After looking at their sample, I said to myself, well, this is a good number. And I went to the sample in the sample sizes that are collected by pollsters like Emerson, for example, pollsters like global pollsters like Correct Polling in the US. And I've noticed that, in fact, if you look at it in base of proportionality, the number they select is far more than the number pollsters in the US select in the US general elections. And I look at another poll study that is ranked on top in Nigeria. The number of the samples, their sample size is around 2,500 to 3,000. So Nigeria of more than 100 million people, I don't know the number exactly, but millions of people can collect that sample size to draw generalizations in terms of polling opinion, can do that. Then I say to myself, if they should select a sample size of 1,556 and the sample reflects a pure proportionality to our population, then therefore I think the selection is correct, especially if it is a stratified method. And these are methods that are highly been punctuated by rings, by float, top-notch researchers in terms of opinion poll. After that, what I looked at before I conclude on anything, to look at what everyone calls margin of error. In every research, these are some of the things you look at. You need to make sure whether before you even read, to see what is their margin of error. Is it within the same, is it within the threshold, the acceptable threshold? If you look at their margin of error, it's plus or minus 5. Recently, all the research surveys that I have seen in the US, for example, the margin of error in Florida is plus or minus 3.5 by collect pooling. In Texas, it's plus or minus 3.3. In Reuters, it's plus or minus 3.5. So you realize that, in fact, all of these people, their margin of error is 3.3 above, and CepRass margin of error is plus or minus 2.5. So actually, margin of error is basically, it means the figure, for example, the percentage in which you could say, even if there's an error, the error will not be more than this, or the error will not be less than this. Opinion polling and general researchers do this to let you know that they are not perfect, to let you know that there are possibility and potential for errors to be in this. And at least there is a caveat that they put in the error. And then after that, I went forward to look at their confidence level. And I noticed that their confidence level is also within threshold. Before I get to the confidence level, as reported by one of the best pollsters again, if a margin of error is within plus or minus 5, it's accepted. If it is more than plus or minus 5%, it's not accepted. That is general. That's not an opinion. It's a fact. And anybody who do academic literature, who do a master's thesis, especially if it is quant, you will definitely come to notice that margin of errors, it has a threshold. So on opinion surveys is plus or minus 5, and CepRass is plus or minus 2.5. So because they are way below that, I felt they are within the threshold. And if you look at the confidence level as well, the confidence level is 95%, which is also mathematically correct. Perfect. So for me, because of those numbers, and because how the survey is done, the time of the survey, and because of looking at the history of the survey and the people who have been doing it, and the accuracy, for example, CepRass, they have done opinion pool survey. Well, that was not even done by Gambia Participates, right? And what they said was exactly what happened. They give a measure of, for example, undecided voters. They said Adam Barrow is going to come second, Zenu Dawo is going to come third, Mama Kande will come fourth, Hussein will come second, Mama Kande will come third. That was exactly what happened when you look at it from a generalized perspective. So they have a history of predicting results and having them right. They might have, predict things that are not right, well, generalize things that are not right, but most of the time they got it right. So for me, because of their history and because of the way the survey is done, even if the manner in which it is collected, most of the surveys in the world, they are collected by telephone calls. Even in the US, most of the surveys that are done are collected by telephone calls. They'll call voters, say, who will you vote for, and ask them questions. But their survey is not done by calls. They went to the houses, physical, face-by-face reports. They don't give the ability to enumerators to ask their questions. They computerize everything in a laptop and control the enumerators from a distance. So that goes to tell you the credibility and the integrity of the research. So the enumerators have limited access in terms of controlling the number. So for me, I think the sample size is perfectly correct. The statistical rigor is something that I think I will not question. But however, one thing I'll question before I go is the gender disparity. For example, they have given a population of, well, 65% around men and around 35 to women. If you look at it purely from a research perspective, you might say they need to be equitable 50-50. However, the only downside that anybody will do those critics is because Gambia CepRass done an pre-opinion survey in 2021, and they did the survey, they interviewed 28% women and 72% men, right? You can see that there's no equality in this, but their generalization of findings is perfectly accurate to what has happened in our elections. So because at least they have done it before, even though was not equitable, they were able to generalize the opinions and reflect what happened in the polls. I am still saying they should have done better in terms of making sure they're equitable, but I'm not going to discredit the report because it is not equitable, because history and empirical facts have shown that even with an inequitable gender disparity, they are still able to generally predict the polls. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Ebrima. That is very comprehensive. I think Touba is really keenly waiting to to launch on his statistical data, and I believe a lot of questions and seeking a lot of perhaps clarifications too that he's going to point to Marr's way. But I think it is important. We have to acknowledge, I think, at the end of the day, like I listened to Honorable Usainu Dabo on Coffee Time, and he said he has certain questions about the survey, but what he did say is that he's not going to disregard the report. It would be a very...
He's not in the business of
Yes,
disregarding
he said,
reports.
yes, he absolutely said that. And I think if I'm not an expert in opinion polls or research surveys at that, but I think at this point, from my understanding, is this circumstance could change. These perceptions could change. There is a lot of time between now and the December 2026 elections. So this narrative that we have, if, for example, an election is supposed to hold today, this is the perception of the people. That is my understanding of it. And so just to say that I do not consider it as a wholesome, or I don't think anybody would consider, just because we have certain sort of errors in terms of the data that came out, to completely rubbish the outcome of the research. I don't think any serious person would actually argue that. But before going any further with that, I think I'll invite our data scientist to really share his reactions in respect to the outcome of the data.
Thank you, Ebrima. Before going, I want to actually start from where you just stopped, and that is that very last statement that you don't think any serious person would actually rubbish that out. And if a serious person rubbishes it out, you also have to respect their stand and their position, especially if they are talking
No,
in the context of numbers.
Rubbish the whole outcome of the survey. Is that what you're saying?
I am not. Listen to what I'm saying, Ibrahim. I said.
No. So what I said is,
You,
let me help you
yeah,
clarify. What I did say is, I don't think, in my considered opinion,
that is your thought. You
yes,
don't think.
yeah,
Yes.
any serious person would rubbish the outcome of the entire report that came out in respect to this survey. That is my position. If you disagree with that, tell me why you think the comprehensive report that came out should absolutely be rubbish, and tell me, you can explain to us why. I'm not going to go against that or to say, hey, you just have to be
when you generalize, any serious person would do that. I'm saying, if someone does that, would that make them unserious?
Let's
No.
stick on the topic now.
That
Let's
is
go back
no.
to
I mean,
let's
Yeah.
go to the
So,
report.
anyways,
we are on
yes.
that Ebrima. This is the whole purpose of this conversation. Touba can tell us why he thinks this report should actually be trashed, right?
But I did not say it is trash yet. Is that what you think I'm going to say, or
No,
what?
I'm not saying that. What I did say is, I don't think any serious person would look at the report and say this is actually nonsense. That's what I'm saying.
But
And if you disagree with that, you can tell us why.
But I'm saying, if a serious person, if someone does that, they are unserious.
Yeah, that's my opinion. What's wrong with that?
That is not an opinion. That is a conclusion. Anyways. Anyways,
go ahead.
Mr. Marr Njang, thank you for being here with us. Thank you to Gambia Participate. I actually, when I look at the report in its totality, some parts, 50%, I agree with Ebrima Dampha in terms of the academics part of it. Brilliant. The academic sampling size fits the theoretical sample size, the theoretical, framework or the range. In theory, it does work. But when I write or when I speak today, it's not that I don't know about academics. I do. I am actually a part-time teaching assistant at Rutgers University here in Camden. I am teaching mathematics and statistics, and these are things I cannot only compute margin of error, writing computer programs, but I can also do it by my hand using the numbers, using the standard deviation, using the square methods, and just do it by just doing x bar minus x square all over n and taking the root of that to compute standard deviation to compute the margin of error. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from. So academically, it is fine.
Bro,
My
you're
problem
funny, bro.
is my problems are one of them is number one, the interpretation of it. Number two, what does it mean for the people of the Gambia? When Marr was speaking, I have issues with this. I am very specific, and this is the problem. When Marr speaks and say percentage of Gambians, percentage of Gambians, percentage of Gambians. This is one of the problems I have when people talk about this thing, polls. Now, in the experiment, when you talk about percentage of Gambians, okay, it might not be that's what you meant, but also you are underlining uniformity in your representation. Uniformity that 1,556 people squarely represent the people of the Gambia. I said no. I would say I rather prefer saying, I'll go to other parts of it. I rather prefer saying the percentage of our respondents, the respondents' perspective. And if this is anything to go by, if this truly represents the 2,306,066 people of the Gambia, at least as of the GBOS 2024 survey results, that we have 2 million, 2.3 something million in the Gambia. So these 1556 people cannot squarely represent those millions of people, apart from theories. But in practice, it cannot. And that is why when I interpret the result, I prefer saying the percentage of our 1556 people who did say borrow this, the percentage of our 56 people who did say this. And if we have to do this as a wider application to the people of the Gambia, then we imply that the Gambian people say this. But that is just a theory. In practice, it is not. I have the report right here, the education side of it. It says that
Yes.
Can we
Oh, okay.
one
But
question?
yes,
um,
Mar. I
Mar,
think
Mar,
Martha
let
here.
me speak. When I'm done, you will have an
No, no.
opportunity to talk.
I mean, what I'm
You're probably gonna
suggesting
raise. Let me just interject real
what I'm
quick. I
suggesting
think
is
Tuba.
we
Let me.
address one question at a time,
No,
right?
no, it's not a question. For this one, is that like all of you have been speaking. I took a few notes. You spoke about a lot of things. So let me speak. When I'm done,
Maybe
you will
Marvin,
talk.
you can.
So I think I think I
So
think I think
listen.
for
I'm
in
the host.
Tuba's
Let
No,
guys
defense,
no,
in
wait.
Tuba
Dampha,
in
Wait,
Tuba's
Dampha,
defense.
idiam dajane, ma
guys, wait,
ngandele. So ibadu
No,
wait,
ngadiam. You
wait.
people
I'm
should
just
So
in
let
your
me
defense.
speak.
I'm not in your
listen,
defense. In
listen,
your
everybody.
defense.
Listen,
Just in your
listen,
Right.
listen,
defense.
So let me
guys.
ask
Come on.
let me ask this counter question. Let me ask this
Honey,
counter question.
honey, honey, mbadu nimparede. Just wait until
No,
I'm
No,
done.
no,
guys.
I
Come
just
you
want to
on.
raised a
say in
very
Tuba's
important part.
defense. In Tuba's defense, that's what
You
I'm
raised an
talking.
important part, and I just want to ask you a question,
No,
right?
no, but nimparede. Let me be done. Let me be done. You can ask. Okay, ask just this one question, please.
Guys, can I take care of my
All right.
show, please?
Yeah.
All of
So
you have
Well,
been.
if you are not careful,
no,
I'll be in charge. So
No,
no worries.
no.
Let me ask this question to my Toma, Marre. Marre, if you are sick and you go
I
to a
am
lab,
not. I am not sick.
I'm looking at a scenario, case
Well, this
scenario.
is the scenario.
No,
Solve
just
that,
say if
please.
you are sick. In that case, give me
I
the
will use
good
Ibrahima.
stuff.
I will use Ibrahima. Ibrahima,
Okay.
Yes.
if
Yes.
you are sick and you go to a hospital in the lab, right? Do they take the whole of your blood to test whether you have malaria or not?
They take
Okay.
some.
Okay. Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, no,
Wait.
no.
Wait.
Okay,
No. No.
that
No.
question
Let me
is
ask
for
No.
me.
this question.
Mar, I
No,
think
no,
that is a very wrong
no, no,
description of
no,
it.
Okay.
no,
You
Okay.
want
no.
to tell
Answer the
me
question.
Gambia is sick, and then you want to diagnose the people of Gambia, but you take only
Tom, you need
1,556
to.
people.
Tom, can I
I'm not
say,
saying Gambian is sick. I'm asking a question.
Yeah, but then who is
Answer
sick
my
in this
question.
case? Ibrahim is
Ma,
a one person. Ibrahim
I'm
is
not
one.
done
Per-
yet.
Okay,
Ibrahim's
relax,
blood.
You're
relax.
not doing well.
Ibrahim's
You're not
blood
doing
No,
does
well.
no.
not represent the
Tuba.
blood of all Brikama people.
I'm not done yet. Ibrahim, answer my question. When
Yes.
you get to the hospital and they're doing a lab test, do they take your whole blood to determine whether you have malaria or not?
No, they just take a portion.
An average human body liter is about 4.5 to 6 liters, and they take less than 1 liter,
Perfect.
sometimes 500 milliliter.
But then
right?
what does that have to
Tell
do with our
you
elections
whether
in
you have
Gambia?
malaria or not.
Just wait, just wait.
No, no, no. Okay, Ibrahim Sonko, this is not
Listen,
fair to me. Let me speak. When Marr is done, he can do his philosophical analysis. Because
Yes,
what
but
does
Mark,
blood have to do with my what I'm talking?
to I mean, Mark, I think he's right. To be fair to him,
no,
let's
I just
allow
want to
him.
address you
No, no,
one
but
statement.
Yes,
that is very philosophical in all its application. What does blood have to do with our elections?
No, we're doing sample size,
yes.
sampling. We said
Oh,
we're doing
but that
the
sample
first one,
size, what I'm
the lab
saying,
technician,
it
the lab
fits a
technician will
research
take a
lab. It
sample.
fits in
The
theory.
lab
It does not
technician will
fit in
take
a
a
practical
sample of your
society.
blood.
That's what
The
I'm
lab,
telling you.
what I'm telling you is the lab technician take a sample of your blood to tell you whether you have malaria or not. But that doesn't mean that you don't have other underlying issues in your body.
But this is not about health. This is
No,
about
this
Okay.
is a
election,
So
and
sample
this is
size.
about numbers.
can I
The
just say
sample
something, guys? Can
size.
I just say something?
So you
One
cannot,
minute, 1 minute. No,
generally,
Mark,
when you get
just one
okay.
minute, Mark. Just give me 1 minute, and I will go back to Tuba because I believe we need to allow Tuba to give his statement. But before Tuba make his statement, where Tuba is drawing the line, and not only Tuba, most of the people that have been critical, they are looking at the population of the Gambia. CepRass is looking at registered voters. You're talking about 2.5 million. They are not
But
generalizing
wait,
the
Ibrahima,
2.5
let
million.
me speak. I'm
They're
not done. So that
generalizing it
is why,
Okay,
if
okay,
you want to
guys,
be
guys,
conclusive
wait.
here,
I'm
it's not
giving
going
other
to help.
latitude.
Let
No, Tua,
me
hang on.
speak.
Tua, hang
I'm
on.
muting myself. I'm
No,
muting myself.
Ebrima, mute. So everybody, this is how we're gonna go. Otherwise, we're not gonna hear each other. Tua is pretty animated, and he has a lot of issues that he wants to get to, and we don't have a lot of time. So the ability for us to dialogue is to listen to each other, right? And Mar had plenty of time to talk. Mar is gonna come back. There's gonna be a second round for us to wrap up. Ibrahim had time. Now let's let Tuba have a go at it because it's important for us to hear him. And then once he's ready, Mar, I think just take some notes. You're not going to have answers to all of this.
I'm not going to take notes. Let him just ask one question at a time because he seems to be
I'm
bombarding
not,
all.
I'm
Just
not a
one question at a
journalist.
time. We
I'm
can move
here
on.
to make my observations. I'm not here to ask you questions. You are here to speak on behalf of Gambia Participate. I'm only speaking on the numbers and some practical aspect of it. I'm very well aware of the population of the Gambia. And in this population, because you keep on saying percentage of Gambians, which Gambians are you referring to? It's not just only our voter population. And if it is meant by our voter population, like Dampha is talking about, we have about 960,157. So this sample size of that voter population is approximately 0.16% of it. I am saying, whilst your survey results can be conclusive, but it has to be conclusive, specific to the number of people interviewed and surveyed. And another problem with that is in some local government areas and in some graphics that have been done, some of those percentages have been misrepresented by 1% less. So now that 1% less, if you apply it to the sample size, it's about 15 people less. And in areas where, let's say, you have about 2% more or 2% less, that is about minimum of 31 people added, but that is not the intended purpose of the survey. Now, I know about this thing, margin of error. I was speaking
That's
about
wrong.
it. I want to
That's wrong.
put a
That's wrong.
distinction. I want to put a distinction between margin of error and prediction errors. So the margin of error here, like Dampha said, he's very right that it is about the sample size. That if you take this part of a sample of this population, the margin of error that you have minus or plus, it fits in that range. That's a theoretical research. He's very right, and that's correct. I am referring to the prediction. We know about polls that have failed. In the US in 1936, 1948, 1960, and most recently, the polls failed in 2016 and 2024 against Trump. The polls also failed. The reason is even scholars generally believe that while sample sizes are fits the theoretical research, it fits the research purposes that are just on theory and for academic reasons. It does fit. But if you go beyond the fabric space of politics or beyond polls, sometimes it falter when it comes to the practical application. And that is one of the things I was trying to point out. When I talk about education, you said here, not, when I say you, I'm referring to the report writers, 25.64 had no formal education. I don't. Those people had no formal education of your sample size. I don't think that's representative because I don't personally think that we have less of a percentage of the educated people than the uneducated people. I believe we have more people who are in the other side of the fence. But if the survey goes on to interview, it says here that education, yeah, 60% of respondents have completed secondary or tertiary education. So the survey also assumes underlying that we have more people in the formal or the education sectors than we have, in the opposite side. I don't think that's the realities of our society. Also, you look at the gender representation. I don't think that also works. You have more men then you interviewed for women. And in the last population census that we have about 51% of women, 51% female, and then 49 is male. So I don't see the representation in that side. Even the local government areas where you represent Brikama by 26 and so on, the last voter registration in the Gambia, you have about 37% that is in Brikama, and KM is about 19, as opposed to here, which is 15. That's not very far. So I have a lot of concerns in this. The very fact that when I say percentages, when you have an increment of less than 1%, less than 1% of your voters are 0.01% multiplied by the 1556 will give you 15.56. That 15.56, I'm saying on minimum, you are misrepresenting 15 people, either up or below. And someone was saying that that's not correct. I don't know, but you probably don't know about number theory and then the laws of the central limit theory.
Forget
But
the comment. Forget the comment section.
yes,
Just
and
talk.
so so
Focus
that
on the
that
Guys,
one that one I think I think that's good. You can, if you also are 101% in percentage. I've spoken to accountants. I've sent these reports to young scientists in Gambia. They could not believe the numbering errors that were in the report. Even though we appreciate that these people did this survey to give us the platform and opportunity to talk about it and the findings, that is important. But the fact that there are so many numbering errors, that is telling me, in essence, I am here making conclusion on numbers that when you recompute are not the actual facts. Even as small as they will be, remember, the Gambia operates on a quantitative model of voting, and that is simple majority. 1% difference can make you a president in Gambia. It's just simple majority. Whoever gets more than the others just becomes the president. It's not on percentage quality. And those percentages computed come from scores. You take somebody's score out of the total, you multiply it by 100. Now, when I do the summing and I'm more than 100, that is by a whole number. If you have a 0 point something, that is fine. Less than 0 point something, that's fine. By a whole number representation, that is a big disaster in mathematics. I think this is actually against the laws of numbers, and it needs to be addressed. I will stop here for the time being, and then I will come again. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll let
Tom.
Mar react, and
Yeah.
then I'll have Ebrima.
Tuba wanted to drag me in a court of mathematics. I'm not a mathematician. Number one. Number two, I don't define the scope, and CepRass done a very good job in defining the scope and using a very robust methodology. First, regarding the sampling, right? If you read the report, which I'm sure you did, it is said that we use a stratified sample size. You're a mathematician and you have those that are focused on research, right? So you could be a data scientist, but they are experts in research, which is totally different from your field. And I will come to those numbers, right? So what is the stratified sample size? You have a population of, our target here is not Gambian as a whole, right? Gambia as a whole is 2.4 million. Our target is the voter population and those that are eligible to vote. So the current voter population is 962,157, right? And all of those are 18 years and above. So you use a stratified sample size, and the interview was done by random sampling, right? And I'll come to all of this. So how do you do the stratified sample size? You have a group. Let's say, for example, you have a population of 100, right? And 20 lives in Banjul, 50 lives in, or let's say 30 lives in KMC, and you distribute the number all the way to the end of Banjul, or end of the country. Now, you take from that population, not like a census where you go to every single household to count and ascertain the number of people that live in a country. And I think Touba Martin knows this more than I do. In research, they say, right, that intelligence is influenced by environment and genetics, right? If I live in Banjul, the way I act and the way I act and the way I do my socioeconomic activities is totally different from the one in Basse,
Nope.
right? This is not your field, so let me just talk about these social issues, right? They are totally different.
It's not my field, doesn't mean I don't know it.
Okay.
That's
So
I disagree to that. But go on
yeah.
with your talking. But
Okay.
that's not actually
So
the case. You
and then
cannot
starting
measure
by
intelligence by where you live. We have very many intelligent people from Basse and Banjul, and even some from other parts of the Gambia. So I'm referring to look at me as a practical scientist, not just a theoretical scientist. I know the theories. I don't have to be talking about theories all the time. I want this to be applied to our people. That's it.
Okay, Marr. So
no, I just wanted to address this first, right? So when we talk about stratified sample size, our target is the voter population, 962,157, and then from that you collect the different demographics, which is the youth, the middle age, and the older age, the men and that of the women, and then also by geographical location, right? So you look at Banjul, you know Banjul has a very small voter population of 21,000 voters, right? So when you are doing your sampling, and what we did, we actually allocate at least 3% of the respondents to be in Banjul. Brikama being the highest, where it has about 37% of voter population, you also take the majority of the respondents, about 37%, and let's say, for example, you take about 26% of the respondents and then you put them in Brikama. So what you are doing here in sampling is you, when I say in Brikama, I'm not just saying Brikama as a town,
Yeah.
but West Coast region, right?
Mar,
And
we know that. I know that. I'm from that area.
I'm actually trying to make it easier for our audience to understand, right?
I'm
So
so
when you
they
say
do.
West Coast
Tua,
region,
can you let
yeah,
can
just
we
allow
ignore
him
the
to
dialogue
finish. Yeah,
respectfully,
yeah,
please, and
yeah,
let him
you
continue to explain. I know it's pretty impassioned.
Ebrima, they did the same thing to me, and it actually took longer for them to give me the floor to
I'm giving
speak.
you
So I
context.
think you have to be fair, like you say from the, and I'm sure you are doing that. You are doing your best. So thank you.
I totally
No,
understand that. I'm
let
not
me just
saying
before we
that.
continue, Tua,
Yeah.
if you feel you've been unfairly treated, I'm genuinely sorry about that. It's not my intention or anybody else to bring you here and you feel as though you've been. That's not the hope. The hope, like I always tell you in this platform, is for us to dialogue. And you more than anybody else know that about me and about this platform too. But I don't think we can make anything out of this conversation if we're not listening to each other. You raise very pertinent issues. Some of us raise important issues. We disagree fundamentally on areas. And now Marr is reacting to those issues. I think we can offer him that opportunity to finish his thoughts. And then Ebrima can come in, or you can come in, and then we can try, because we don't have a lot of time. By 6:30 Gambian time, we have to stop this conversation. People have other things to do as well. But we cannot do that if we continue to interrupt each other. So Marr, please proceed.
Right. So what you do when you say Brikama as a region, you collect all the constituencies in Brikama, right? And then the bigger the constituency, and then each constituency varies based on the number of registered voters. At least the minimum of interviews that are conducted, let's say, for example, Banjul Central, where you have a small voter population, right? We use 18 households, right? And also, if you go to Sanementering, right, we use about 36. And when we say Sanementering, there are different words. Burfoot is a word of its own, right? You have Kelser Sukuta, a word of its own. So you have to go to all of these words and interview people, as Mr. Dampha said, is face-to-face interview. You collect that information. So what you are doing, you're stratifying, right? You're drawing a sample from the whole voter population. You take the men of it, the women of it, the young, the middle, and the old age, right? And then you extract them from the population. You group them, right? And then you do your bell curve. I think or what we call the normal curve. The statisticians knows about this. So when you do your normal curve, you put your margin of, you define your mean, and then you have your margin of error. So if the curve is like this, right, it is most likely that the average number of respondents will be within the mean, right? And then you have, at least on the left side, if your margin of error is 2.5, right, plus or minus, they will fall at least towards the end of the mean on the left side, and then others will fall towards the right at the end of the curve, right? So out of it is the margin of error, which also means that if you are to do this 120 times, you will come to the
times.
same conclusion. That is what stratified sampling is all about. And when you say, why are you saying Gambians and not percentage of respondents? Maybe you don't also understand how pools resources are communicated, right? And everywhere where polls are done, when you do your stratified sample size, and that's why we call it a representative sample size. The mathematicians and the statisticians knows about this, right? When you do your sample, it is representative of the population. So when you are communicating that this is how the population is thinking or they are likely to act. And we have to also establish this. We are not saying that this is what is going to happen in 2026. This is screening into the sentiments of the current political environment, right? So and I was very fascinated when the results came out. I look at the Afrobarometer report, right? And it showed me the winning probability of both the NPP and UDP. NPP was actually about 27%, and their sample size was 1,200. Ours was 31%, very close. Usainu Dabo, should I say UDP as a party was 18% in that poll. And ours, we did not say party, we used individuals. Talib was at 18%. Usainu Dabo was at 12%. So these numbers don't lie, right? So we will definitely say 90% of the population based on the sample that we have drawn from the voter population. I mean, this is the same case, and Ebrima did mention this. You look at the YouGov and the economists, they will use a sample size smaller than ours, and they will say 51% of Americans. I mean,
Okay.
this.
Marre, I think you're right. I'm not cutting you short, but I just want to make references here. Like I said, you've made some things in terms of intervals. So now I just wanna go straight to the layman who doesn't understand issues, because sometimes when people make generalization, it's difficult to draw the line. Let me be clear, and I think Marr have to say it. Let me emphasize the results that CepRass use. They just use it to generalize everything. They're not talking about specifics. They're not talking about numbers specifically. They're talking about a generalized outcome on that point in time. And if you are talking about generalized outcome, like I keep saying, this is, even if you go on normal Google, you ask, it's going to tell you that in opinion poll research, it's not even measured about whether it is right or wrong. It is about the generalization effects. And if you look at the margin of error, it's clear. There's no way anybody can question the margin of error, because that has been provided by statistical by Stata. Nobody can question art. Nobody can question Stata. They don't make, those are perfect. So software that don't make error, right? So they're telling you the margin of error is plus or minus. They're even telling you there are possibilities that there will be error in this, right? And people make referral to say, "Oh,
I'm sorry, Ebrima. I don't think that's margin of error.
Let me finish. No, let me finish. Let me finish. You talk about predictive error and margin of error. Predictive error, what you are talking about, is actually after elections. Just Google it. Predictive error measures.
Why would I Google it? I was saying it. Then why would I Google it?
You said we should allow you to finish. So let me finish. You talk
Yeah,
about
but don't tell me to Google it. Why would I Google it?
Listen to me. Don't Google.
Okay, I won't.
Ebrima, let Ebrima finish it.
You talk about predictive error. Actually, in opinion-based research, I'm asking the viewers to make side about it. Predictive error is most all the time being actualized after elections. You look at the numbers that have been predicted and that have been actualized. This is a pre-election. There's no election that has been conducted. So I'm not only Touba. Many of the people keep saying, I'm not talking about you here, Touba. Let me be specific. One of the people keep saying,
predictive errors. I said I have CepRass here on 11 occasions where they are predictive errors also as false.
Okay, let me just finish. You keep not you, but most you included. Most of the people keep saying that 2.5 million. How can you use 1,500?
In practice, yes, I question that.
For God's sake, no, but let me finish, bro. Like, even the comment section, people want you to listen. So let me finish.
I think it's absolutely imperative, Touba.
Because when you're talking, let's listen to one another. So that it's not a debate between you and Marre, between me and you. We're just having a competition, and the viewers will draw their conclusion. So what I am saying, Tom, is that they are not even making a generalization of the entire Gambian population. They are making a generalization from registered voters. Let that be clear. And registered voters in the Gambia, as per the past survey, is around 1 million. So let's people stop saying, oh, how can 1,500 predict 2.5 million? They're not predicting 2.5 million. They're predicting around 1 million voters. And that 1 million voters, not everybody will vote. So these people, they have ratified their sample from all the 53 constituents in the Gambia. There's no constituent that they have not taken from. They have asked from all the constituents from the Gambia. I don't know if you understand that. So this is telling you that it is 100%, it is very, very representative. So if it is representative, you can do a generalization. So talking about it from an academic perspective, like I said, that is why for me, I don't even want to make myself like, oh, I am here. I said it very clearly that I am saying that this research is not 100% accurate in terms of the gender disparity. I agree with that. But I found it very cynical that somebody will look at a report like this, will not have any positive thing to say about this report. Write pages about this, you don't have anything positive to say about it. And then you are not talking as a politician. Even me, who is talking as a politician, I agree that this report, right, even though it's good, but it has some bad sides. But you are not talking about it. You are not talking as a politician. You have no positive to say about this report. And I can tell you, from as an individual, I work with Dampha. I work with Seymour. Those people are top-notch researchers. They are top-notch researchers. Anyone who knows just ask about Afrobarometer. Any institution that will work with Afrobarometer is a credible institution. So let this be clear. I want to draw this conclusion. Let me finish. Opinion poll research is what we are talking about here, right? Opinion poll research everywhere in the world. In the US, the numbers that they choose is around 3,000, 4,000. In Nigeria, last election, the opinion poll research by WOMS was correct, and they used 2,500. Nigeria is millions of registered voters. So for me, I just want to make it clear that the answers that they have given is a generalization from the data that has been legitimately extracted from registered voters, not the entire Gambian population. So sometimes we need to get the basics right. If you don't get the basics right, you get everything wrong. And we're not talking about raw numbers. Yes, we're talking about numbers in terms of who got it right, who got it wrong. But they said it. Let me finish with that. I want to keep repeating it. They said there is a possibility of an error, margin of error. There possibility that there will be an error.
Ebrima, that is not a margin of error.
I'm not talking about now. So, let me finish.
It's already 1508, Ebrima. So you are speaking more than everyone else. Let's give us a chance.
I will say a margin of error, and I'll be happy for you to say it is wrong. A margin of error means the reported figure could be 2% points higher or lower. That is the actual value at a 95% interval. Do you want to tell me that is wrong? That's not the
that is not wrong, but it is for the sample size. It does not account. Yes, it does not account for the data processing problems.
Everything we are doing here is about the sample size. Can you say that, Marr? Are you talking about something that is outside the sample? Marr, help us. Do you?
No. Ebrima, there is something you do not understand me. I told you from the beginning. I have said this. Sorry, but I said in the beginning, I said that it fits a theoretical research. And then I acknowledge that the margin of error is right. I never said the margin of error is wrong. I know margin of error. It is accounting for the sample size to represent a certain population. And that is correct. I am referring to its practical implication. You mentioned about CepRass doing right. That is fine. I do not even see this report that it was done by CepRass. But I made reference to CepRass, knowing well that their name have been mentioned. 2021 presidential elections for NPP, UDP, and GDC. Sorry, for NPP and UDP, CepRass got the acceptable prediction error by a huge staggering margin of 22% and 13% respectively. I do not look at that as a successful forecast. I look at that as a lucky guess, because you know very well that polls also come out and they are wrong. I've referenced so many years here. You spoke about polls getting it right. Polls also do get it wrong. In the United States, in 2024, in 2016, polls get it wrong. Not only by the outcome of the electoral college, but even by the popular vote. They got it wrong.
Can I pause you there 1 second?
Sorry, Ebrima, let me come here. No, Ebrima, I want to say one point. Dampha said I have nothing positive. If he is referring to me, I did not say anything positive about this. No, I started by actually thanking and acknowledging the work that they do. In fact, that one that is positive. I also acknowledge that what they have done, it fits within the academic framework. It's just that outside the tower, it cracks. That I
That's
said
not in
it.
your report.
No, no, no.
Let's get the fact. You don't
Wait,
have
wait,
that in your
wait.
report.
Say something. You said
No,
in what?
Can
okay,
That's
you
you said
not in my
address?
what?
Can you
That's not
no.
in
address?
my report.
No, wait.
I did not write a report. I did not write any
No,
report.
Okay, guys,
you
hang
write
on, hang
something.
on.
Mark,
Not
if
yet,
you
not
are
yet,
referring to
not
my
yet.
Facebook post, that was just a pic from what I was writing, which is still under
There's no
review.
positive there.
And then
It's entire
Ebrima,
negatives.
Ebrima,
Entire
Dampha,
negatives.
yes, no, that is what I'm
Dampha,
saying.
hang on.
I neither said academic in my report, in my post, nor do I said it is practical. But the content of what I said was very practical. That is why I did not even quote the whole of the population of the Gambia. It's because Marr was saying the Gambian people, then I said the population of the Gambia. But I keep on saying the practical, the wider implication on the 962,157. If you limit your interpretations to the 1556, that is fine. If you widen it, I am saying it will not become a representation. I spoke about the gender issue, the gender imbalance. I talk about the education side too. I am referring to the numbering errors. The numbering errors have nothing absolutely to do with the sample size. The numbering errors are as a result of the data processing. If you look at
Can you
status
allow me?
software,
Can you allow me to address?
I will not question the status software, but I do know Stata that uses the descriptive analysis for the collapse inbuilt function and the D-string inbuilt function inside Stata. Sometimes they will crack or it will collapse when subjected to certain amount of data. That happens.
You
Could
also
that be
know,
a reason? Could that be
Tuba,
a reason why you are getting certain
Tuba,
percentages wrong?
Tuba,
That could also be
but
what.
you also know in descriptive analysis that you cannot say 2.7. You either round up or you round down because you were talking about human beings here. We cannot say 2.5 billion. No,
Marr,
just
you
listen to
see,
me.
the
No,
problem is
no,
I
no,
know academics.
no.
Wait,
Okay, you
in
cannot allow me
descriptive,
to.
why can't you say,
Hang
what do
on.
you mean? Why can't you say 2.7? What is
You
so
cannot
wrong
say
about
no.
describing something as a
You
2.7?
cannot when you are talking about
So
people.
when you have 0.5, you round up to 1. Is 1 and 0.5 the same? They are emerging by half. That is what
Tuba,
I'm saying. That is why when you keep on rounding down and rounding down, you are going to miss by a digit.
no.
And when
So
you
let me
miss
tell you
by,
in pools. Tell me where in a pool where a pollster says 2.5 per person. Give me
I'm not
what.
saying you.
No,
This
just
is
answer that.
no. You don't get it. I am saying that.
I got it. You were saying some numbers
Yes.
are not adding up to 100. Obviously, the starter, the metadata that we have, right? It will actually give you the number, and then after the decimal points, you will see the numbers there. So we
Man,
have to
if
look at the.
metadata
No, no,
gives you something
can you
correct,
allow
why
me?
couldn't you give us
Can
that?
you,
If the
can you allow
metadata that produces the underlying data that is called metadata, that the one that produces the actual figures, if you are getting percentages by a 0 point something, that is fine. I have no problem with that. I'm saying that if percentages are less than point something, this is absolutely fine.
Okay.
But
So
percentages
what I'm
being
telling you,
more by a staggering number of 1%, I do not accept that. I do
okay.
not accept that. And
And
then it
so
is fine if you accept it. This is a view from me and I'm communicating it. If
it's
you
totally fine. So
accept that, that is fine.
we
I'm
need to
not
just
going to
address the
settle.
issues. But I need
I'm
to
not going to
go.
settle for something more than a whole number. That is what
Okay.
I'm saying. And I have
I need
problems
to
with the
go.
specific.
I need to
I spoke
go.
about separate. Getting the winner right is not a problem in Gambia. You can just sit at your corner and say somebody else will win, and that can happen. But when you do surveys, I'm saying I'm looking at the percentage margin. That is the acceptable prediction errors or the residual. I'm looking at that by big numbers. And when I see that, I have problem talking about it. That's what I'm
Okay.
saying. I have nothing against what you present. But if I have questions to ask on the numbers, that is what I'm doing. And this is
And I'm
why
trying to
my
answer
critic
that
is
question.
there.
I'm trying to answer
Okay,
those
Tuba,
questions.
now
So if
can
you
you
just
let him
allow me,
speak, please?
just allow me. So the descriptive analysis that you did mention, we cannot say 2.7
I
off the
don't know
hook.
if you cannot say that. That's left to you,
Um,
Mark.
no, when you do
Tuba,
continuous, if you do continuous quality variable, then you can say 2.7. Like we do in budget, we will say 52.9% or something. We can do with budget. We cannot do that with this poll. So you need to know that I think one thing that I will acknowledge, maybe in subsequent polls, we'll have to put a disclaimer to mention that numbers might not add up to 100% because we will do round up and rounding down, right? To make sure we give an
That's
even
the
number,
problem.
right? So that part you will, I will acknowledge that, but I'm just telling you in polls, right? We cannot say that, right? The other thing that you did mention is we are trying to portray, our report portrays that 60% of our respondents are educated, and that is not reflective of our current situation. And first, I'm going to take you back at this again. It is a random sampling, right?
Man, I understand the random sampling. That I'm referring to the practical application. It is not
Understand it.
reflective.
So the audience also need to
No, no,
understand.
Ebrima Sonko, what I will
No,
not
no,
take,
Tua, no,
Marre
I
is
am
not going
no,
to speak to me like I
no.
have said something that is
Tom, you are
general
not,
when
you are
I
not
am being
moderating
Tua,
specific.
well.
listen,
Tom, you
Tua,
are not
wait,
doing
that's
well.
not the way to have a conversation, because if you
No, no,
continue,
no.
but listen, if you continue to do that, you know what that does? It come across as you just want everybody else to take your position, and you're right, and everybody
No,
is
no,
wrong.
that's not what I'm
But,
saying.
no,
But
but
I don't
listen,
want Marre to misquote what I'm saying. I am being
yes,
specific,
but
and
you
Marre
have
is
to
now
listen.
generalizing things on me. That's not what I did.
Yes, but you have to listen. You don't have to correct everything Marr says. That's not the point. We don't come here to agree on every basic issue. That's not the point. You should be okay with if Marr says something that either contradicts or, in fact, even just is diametrically opposite to what you said. That's okay.
Oh,
You will have an
okay.
opportunity
So
to
it's okay. We
dialogue.
can move on because I need to go. So when we do our random sampling, right? When we are interviewing, if you are doing a specific one, then you will say to the enumerator that if you go to this particular constituency, you must interview 60% women, 40% men. Now you make the work more difficult for the enumerator. So when you're doing your random interviewing, right, you approach someone else and you ask for the person's consent. And this is very important here because we don't want the data to be biased. We cannot force someone else to talk about issues when they are not comfortable to talk about. In fact, that's why you will see in our questionnaire, the name of the person comes last. Because you know why? We wanted to make sure that when you are answering, you answer to be anonymous, right? At the end, if you want to give your name, you give your name. If you don't want to give your name, that is also okay. So that gives the person the confidence to talk freely, right? Without you collecting their number or their name at the beginning of the questionnaire, but at the end, right? So when we go out and ask women, our enumerator, when they ask women and they don't give their consent, you have to move to the other person. And then also, that's why in the report, it says that disparity also could mean that men have more role or men dominate the political scene than that of women in terms of the political conversation.
I don't think so.
Right? So if we do that, right, and then report it transparently that this we are the number. These are the number of men that we are interviewed, and this we are the number of women that we interviewed. I totally agree with you that next time we, and Mr. Dampha as well, next time we have to make sure that it is evenly distributed to both men and women, right? But what we cannot do also is to force people to talk when they are not comfortable talking. That we cannot do. In fact, that's going to create biasness in your report. So the issue of education here, from the people that we interview, we also need to look at the data. The 60% that we said we have some form of education. Some are primary school dropout, others are secondary school dropout, and you have others that had after school, should I say, post-secondary school education. You have about 25.6 that have no formal education, right? We cannot say someone that have grade 1 to grade 2, at least foundational education. We cannot call that person or describe that person to have no formal education. So that is what people don't understand when we say 60% had formal education. We are not saying they had university degree or they had high school diploma. That is not what the data is saying. So if we ask someone else, the questionnaire specified your level of education. Some will say nursery, secondary, primary, and other tertiary. So we have to report the data as it is, right? And the issue of the sampling, I was trying to give this analogy, and you said blood has nothing to do with with this post,
No,
right?
I don't like
No, you're going to allow me.
philosophical
You're going to allow
sampling.
me
No,
because
no,
you're
no,
going
no, no,
to
no.
this
I mean,
data.
we can do that, but then I don't see the point. Like you said, I'm being very
You don't have
practical
to see the
here.
point. You don't have to see the point because you are not the one that creates the numbers that you are studying are fathered by scientists, right? In research,
No,
the same people that fathered these research methodologies, right? So
No,
no,
not in specific terms. No, Marre, I
okay.
can't agree to that.
So
I'm sorry, but yes, go on. But
yeah.
honestly, I
You know,
don't agree to that.
one thing you made it clear. You're conflicted from the beginning. So we cannot do anything.
What do you
Based,
mean I'm conflicted from the beginning?
Oh,
What do you
okay. So Tom, I think it's my
you're
turn
not
No,
going to
now.
go
Ebrima,
after that.
Mark, I think
hang
it's my
on.
turn now.
I'm
No,
not
we're
going
going
to
to
go
wrap
after
up
that. But
actually. So
one
let
thing that we
them.
cannot do,
Let's
one
have
thing
this
we
final
cannot
debate.
do, one thing we cannot do is to get a data that is going to validate your emotions. We cannot do that. We cannot bring
Yeah.
out a data just to
Marre,
justify.
I have no emotions here. If you don't even
So
want to use data that is on you,
are
I don't
going
have
to
any
bring
more
out,
emotions here. So
and
that
I
you
totally
that, let that be
understand.
clear to you.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay, so
Tom,
now
I
we're
just
going to
want to
have
say,
no,
I
Ibrahim,
just want
hang
to
on,
say
Ibrahim,
something.
hang on, Tom. We have 10 more minutes to finish, and this is the part where I know that I've learned so much, especially for somebody like me who perhaps I have the less amount of knowledge in respect to this subject that the three of you. So I really appreciate it. This may seem contentious to the people who are watching, but I also know the value of what you're bringing out, and that's the importance of this platform and this conversation. And I hope we all see it that way. Is we
And
have to have this very
Ibrahim,
important.
I'm
No,
not
man,
done
let
yet.
me come. Let me.
I just wanted to finish this and then I'll let you take over.
Okay.
Because when you are writing these issues, you have to make sure you get the facts and at least you get to people and ask. Because when I read Touba Marre's piece, and he's saying, how can you interview 29% out of 350,000 people?
I did not say that. I did not say that anywhere, Marre.
Okay, is here on Al
29%?
No,
I did
29
not say that.
people. 29 people. Here is the piece. It
Yeah.
says. It
Well,
says.
be
It
careful
says.
of what you say. I say I did not say that.
Okay, here is the piece. Will you trust 29 people in Brikama to speak for over 350,000? This is not
Yes.
a
Would you trust that? This is
what?
a practical term, Mari. This has nothing to do
No, no,
with
no.
your
These are
theory
your
and
terms.
academic side of it.
You are saying to the
But
public
but then but then
29
in
people.
reality, is that how it happens?
No,
Can you do that?
what you are telling to the people is
No,
among
no,
the
no. What? Yes, what I'm telling
you
to the
did
people,
not
those
interview
who
29
understand
people.
what I am saying, they know it. The academic side of it, I have no issue with it. That is why I'm saying the wider implication of it is that in practice,
Okay.
it is not
Okay.
possible.
Okay.
I'm
Tuba,
So
just
so
saying that
no,
you
Ibrahim,
know, let me
no.
let me say
inform the public saying that how can you trust 29
Yes.
people being
Yes,
interviewed
I
out
saw
of
I saw that
350,000?
I
yes,
saw that
indeed,
and I
I
kept
did
sending
say,
as
and I
well.
stand by that. No, the
But we
true
did not interview
representation of
29.
the people are the people themselves. Nobody represents anyone at the
We
polls.
did not interview 29 people in Brikama.
I did not say you do that. That was what I wrote.
But
That
let's
as
see by
I
your
said,
word.
on average, if that is what you will go by
No, 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 no.
by a
Not
distributed
even on
division.
average.
Okay. Okay.
Brikama had over
No, no,
20%
no.
respondents.
No,
Mar, you will not tell
Tuba,
me what I wrote. I'm telling you by the division
Tuba,
of it if you go on average. Because it's
No,
Okay.
29 point
that's a very
something. That
wrong
is
way
an
to read it. That is a very
hang on,
wrong
yes,
hang
way
on.
even if
to
I
try and
don't
Guys,
write
read it.
that.
guys,
But
listen,
how do you know how that 29 comes about?
No,
listen.
I'm
Now,
telling
let
you,
me
that's a
take
very
charge.
wrong way to
Let
Exactly,
me
because you
take
don't know how
charge,
it comes
guys.
about.
Order. We're
Okay.
not in
So
court, please.
Tom, let
No,
me say
Yes.
something
no,
now.
Ibrahim,
I
wait.
think it's
No,
time to
Ibrahim,
conclude.
wait. No, everybody, hang on. Wait.
This
Listen,
guy.
this is what I'm going to do, and I don't want to be interjected by anybody. Let me set the parameters for how we're going to end this.
I will.
People are asking for a Marr Touba specific conversation, right? And we're going to try our best to host that conversation to clarify a lot of the issues that I think Touba is coming from a very
Not with
important
Mariam. Sorry, not
situation,
with
which is
Mariam. You have to bring Dampha.
no,
Dampha
hang
is a
on, hang on.
Yes, because Dampha is the one
No, guys,
supporting your research.
no,
I am
just
asking
listen.
questions. So you don't. Why
I
are you
said
hiding your face? Mark is running away. Come
no,
on,
I
come here.
just said do not interrupt me, guys. I've not been able to put out literally 3 sentences since we started this conversation. And I think I've tried my best to just give everybody the opportunity to go, right? And
Indeed.
that's the point of doing this. So we cannot clarify a lot of those issues. I think the important issue is what we highlight, is what we're discussing, is the impact of the survey that came out, if any, and also the questions that needed clarifications. We cannot exhaust that. We are going to host another session where we're going to go over that. But I think at this juncture, on a final note, I'm going to ask each of you, Touba, specifically, right? And this is where you wrap up to. I don't want you to go for like 10 minutes. We don't have the luxury of that time.
Just give me the time that you want, and I'll be within time.
So in literally in 2 minutes, tell us. You keep referencing the subject of academics and
No, I said academically they are fine. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So
It falls
academically
within.
and
Yeah.
yes, and practically, in sum, tell us what is the difference between these two for a layman to understand. When you keep saying, because the reason I'm asking this is there is no opinion poll that is in fact being practicalized. It's just for me perceptions that at the time that they create to say this is the narrative.
No, but yes, you don't
No,
test,
I'm
you
putting
don't
a
do
question.
opinion polls in a lab, so
No,
it's not
let me
about
ask
that.
the question. Let me ask the question. Touba, don't be nice to me, bro. I'm your brother.
I am being nice. You asked your
No,
question already, and you are giving your question a context. I'm listening.
but I have to. But if you're telling me that opinion
No, you
polls are
cannot agree with
in the lab,
everybody,
that is,
bro.
yeah, we cannot. That's okay. Allow
No,
me.
no, Ibrahim, I'm not arguing with you. Ibrahim Dampha and Marre, because Ibrahim supports his side, and that's why you want. If you want to have a date with Ibrahim and talk about this, is fine. It's not my problem.
Now, for me, I will not be back here if this platform is not going to be moderated, because I want to understand that a message have been sent to all of us. I mean, this is not a debate between me and you, and I said that very clear. This is a conversation between all of us and the viewers, right? And Tom, I think this is an important. It's just an important conversation because it for me, I learned one thing here, and I think if I said it, maybe Tuba will agree, right? Tuba's entire argument is based on pure statistical data analysis, right? And he's talking about raw numbers, raw figures. And we are talking about political and social science research. But I just want to tell Tuba something, that every opinion poll research is a social science research. I want you to understand that. This is a social science research. And that is why those who are contacted to do it are academics. So if you say this is correct academically, then you are entirely saying they are right.
No, no,
Because
no,
the
no,
person,
Dampha.
let
I
me
know
finish,
you
let
want
me
to play
finish,
the
let me
nice
finish.
boy. No, no,
Just
no, no,
let,
no,
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 no.
let me finish, let me
Don't
finish,
no,
let me
do
finish.
not
No,
implicate
see,
my
Tom, you
name.
cannot
You have
you
Don't
not
cannot
put
given
my
me
name in
space.
that
no, you
conclusion.
cannot
No,
control your
no, 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 no.
control.
Don't put
Allow me
my
to
name
finish.
in that
No,
conclusion. You can't do that to me. You cannot do that
okay,
to
let
me.
me
You want to
finish.
play
Let
the
me
nice
finish.
boy game here by
Okay,
using my
okay.
name
So
in a conclusion that do not fit my presentation. I'm
No,
not going
okay,
to take that.
let me finish. Let me finish.
No,
Let me finish.
but do
Okay,
not.
I'll
No,
allow
no.
you to speak. I'll
I
allow you
am
to speak.
saying the application of the research. That is what my interpretation is on. You are
Okay,
now
I agree
telling me
with
that.
you. I agree. Okay, let me finish.
Yeah.
Can I
So,
finish
but
now?
then
I
why are you
agree.
saying if I agree
I said,
that I said it fits a theory and a practice, it does not fit
I
practice.
agree. I said I agree. I said I agree now. So what I
guys,
want to finish, just
I
to
don't
finish,
listen. I don't do
just
No,
to
well with
finish,
Damba,
this.
just to
No,
ilafta
listen.
conclude.
conclusion sifa
No,
menkela jang
Tuba,
kandeta kandem nondi wote
Ibrahim,
kela jang. I'm not going to take that.
Allow me to
guys,
finish, bro.
listen. Let me just say this.
Uh,
I honestly don't do well with this sort of conversation, and that's just who I am. Like, I don't do very well with this sort of, just going back and forth. And I honestly, I thought I established the parameters for how we need to converse earlier when I talked to all of you to say this is how we need to have the conversation. But if anytime somebody disagrees with me, I want to interject. I don't think we'll go anywhere, and that's a struggle. We've been able to put a lot out, but we're still struggling in terms of going anywhere. So on a final note, I'm just gonna ask all of you to summarize for us to, wrap up this conversation once and for all, and we'll look for better. We'll create better parameters for how we're able to dialogue in a way that we understand each other, in a way that we are also fair to the audience who are trying to get the best out of this conversation. So, Tua, in sum, what are your recommendations for how we could better this going forward? And if any significance should be put to this report, what should it be?
I think if this is done, not just for theoretical and academic research, I believe that they should look at the population of the Gambia, number one, and look at how things are. Let's say the gender side of it, the male, female, the education side of it, and also even you can go by the voter registration and look at what is registered percentage by in Brikama, the LGA areas, in Kanifing and all other places. Try to at least reflect that in the polls. That is if you want to be practical about it. If you reflect that in the poll, then that will be really helpful because I'm seeing it as the practical implication. People are telling me, oh, they are saying that Gambian people say this, Gambian people. I said, no, to be specific, it's just 1556 people of the Gambians who have spoken. Uniformity, if you take uniformity, yes, they represent everyone, but in real life that is not what happens. I've read scholarly articles and books on the opinion polls. Yes, it's really good to strike a conversation to reflect things in our society, but it does not mean in real time that is what is going to happen. And Marr did say that that's not what they mean, and I know that's not what they meant. But if you want to go by that, I look at CepRass past prediction. Some of them they got it. Like I put here true, because it is within the range, little percentages. But there are also times that they do not. But this time is not critiquing that. I'm seeing a lot of numbers that just don't add up. By small fractions is fine. Dampha and I also have spoken about that. But by a whole number and so on, I think that's very troubling in a society where this research is not only meant for theory and academics, but also for practical purposes, because in our elections, it's very quantitative. If you beat someone by a little number, 1 or 2, you can even be president. But if Ebrima allows me to draw my conclusion, I've been taking notes.
One
I
minute.
was
No, 1 minute.
Ebrima.
You have one.
Yes, yes, yes.
This is
One
not
minute. Go
this is
Yes.
not
on.
your conclusion.
This is not my conclusion. I want to be
Listen,
very
1 minute.
clear here.
1 minute.
Yes, 1 minute. Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
now
One
now
minute.
59 seconds.
Go on. I want to say this. I've been taking notes, and this is what I have to say from my notes. The true representation of the people are the people themselves. It is my firm belief that if this report was submitted for academic publication and reviewed by erudite professors, they would have asked for a rewrite and recalculation of the numbers because of the series of scientific calculation errors that they have seen here. The Gambia Participates survey on the 2026 election is a case study in how not to conduct and present electoral opinion in a practical society. Its conclusions are built upon a sample size that is practically anemic to our electorates, particularly one attempting geographic breakdowns. The consumption of polls must extend beyond sensational headlines. The path to 2026 will be shaped by a complex interplay of governance records. And then I will add this to it. It will not be accurately foretold by a deeply flawed survey of 1556 individuals. The true, unfiltered voice of Gambian electorates will only resonate with clarity and authority on election day when thousands, not hundreds, make their choice in sanctity of the election booth. Our democratic duty for now as individuals and people who are
Are you
here
giving the
is to
presidential speech?
ensure that the discourse leading to that
Seconds.
day is informed by a
You wrote
robust
this
and credible
beforehand. You wrote this
analysis.
beforehand. You did not make this
Yes,
comment now. You
yes.
wrote this
So
beforehand.
number without context is not data. It is a potential propaganda. The integrity of our democracy hinges on collective resolve to build our political discourse on the foundation of sound evidence and meticulous analysis, rather than allowing it to be eroded by a seductive and hollow allure of intellectual and political forgery. Thank you, Ibrahim.
Well, thank you for that. I mean, conclusion to and that statement too. I didn't know you had a whole statement ready to put out.
I do, I do. I was ready for this because I know
Yes,
Dampha and I know what was coming on.
I
And I
was.
know Marr will just come and defend everything that Dampha did, and it happened just like that.
I honestly did not foresee that, but I appreciate the seriousness at which the conversation has been taken by all of us. And now I'll have Ebrima, and then we'll finish with Mark. In summary, what could be improved? What lessons to learn? And what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, I hope Touba is not going to interrupt me this time around. So, for me,
Well,
I think
make sure how you say my name in that then. I did not say your name in my conclusion. If you try me, I'll come on for you.
well, like I keep saying, this is not a personal debate, and I think Ibrahim said that I'm not going to go back to that. So just the conclusion. So I think this is a very interesting conversation. I think the conversation drawing from the research is interesting. I think for me, one thing I learned from this research is the reaction of key political actors. Key political actors like Hussein Udabo coming out to say that the UDP is not in the business of, discrediting opinion polls. That goes to tell you that Marr and his team did a great job. They might not be perfect, the researchers might not be perfect, but at least they have provided an overview of what to expect. And I think it's now left to the actors, that is the politicians, the voters, to look at the report and strategize ahead of polls. And just to conclude, I think the debate has been flipped because there are two facets of people talking about two different things. Anywhere in the world, and I keep saying that everybody can make a reference, opinion poll research is social science research. And that is why academics are always at the center of it. And that is why the people that are assigned to do this job, they are lecturers of the University of the Gambia. They are academics, right? So opinion polls research, being social science research, is something that we need to look at it and analyze from a social science perspective. So I think this is something that is very right. And just to conclude, I agree with at Touba when it comes to the differentiation in terms of gender. I think the research could have been done better in terms of presenting the gender in an equitable form, maybe if not 50-50, or could be somewhere around 45-55, just to show that both women and men might have different opinion or different voting behavior, right? But also, just to go with Marr, I just want to conclude by saying
You've
there is
been
no
trying to
way.
conclude for the last
No,
3 minutes.
yeah. The good thing is, I don't have any. I don't have any report written. I don't have any presidential speech written. So I'm just gonna make it quick. So the thing here is, I find it fascinating to read a report that is 12 pages, not report, but a summary of 12 pages, well, 12 points, and none of those points say anything good about this report. And I think specifically talking from an academic perspective, that is a bit disingenuous. I think they should be given credit, even at least one, but to say everything is trust, I don't agree with that. Just like others, I
Dampha, I
respect
did not
the
say everything is trust.
I'm
Stop
not talking
negative.
about you.
Stop putting
Let me
negative.
finish.
No, you are
I'm
saying
not
12 points. I'm the one who wrote that. Stop
no,
putting
but
negative
let me
vibes in
finish.
my
No, you see,
writing.
this is it.
Don't do that.
You
Yes,
delivered your
because you are
speech.
trying to stain my
Speech.
name. I
Nobody
did
said
not talk
anything.
about you when I am speaking. I'm talking
But you
about
delivered your
the
speech.
work that had happened.
You delivered your speech. Allow me to conclude.
No,
When
no,
you
no,
were
no, no, no.
delivering your speech, you were
I
also
made
Okay,
my
joining.
okay,
jottings
okay,
and
okay,
I wrote
guys.
them in detail. No, you can't stain my name. Stop staining my name. That's not why I'm here.
Okay,
I know
okay.
your games. I know your
Ibrahim,
games. I'm
Ibrahim,
not in my
Ibrahim,
name.
you've concluded, I believe. So
So,
we,
so this
Yes,
is
not
all.
in my name.
Marre, it was good that you joined us. And don't be emotional. This is just a conversation.
I
Don't get
am not
angry.
emotional,
So,
but stop using my name and saying all
okay.
those things around it. That's not what I
Okay,
did.
okay,
Yeah, I'm not
just to clarify.
emotional about it. But
Okay,
you
just to
coming
clarify,
here, on a
you can
through a
mark me
okay,
political
wrong.
lens and trying to
Dampha,
stain me.
You can
No,
I
mark me
think
wrong.
Dampha,
Don't, I'm not gonna give it to you. You have to allow me. You can mark me wrong if I'm wrong. Tuba, you write a summary of 12 points, and I am saying, tell me if I'm wrong. I am saying I am reading the 12 points, and all those 12 points, there is nothing that is positive about the separation method.
everything
Everything is
I said is positive. Speaking the truth, in my opinion, does not mean it
that's
is
what I say.
negative.
So for me, as
Everything
far
I
as
said is
academic,
positive.
okay,
If
Dampha.
you agree with me that the gender representation should increase, so that's also negative.
Okay,
Everything I said is
yes.
positive. It
Tuba,
depends on how you see it.
thank you, Tuba, thank you, Ibrahim.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you,
both of
Ibrahim.
cheers,
you.
man, and thanks to my viewers, man.
Listen.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Let me
All we
just
have
say
done is
this.
to try to
No,
justify
Ngo
and
Ibrahim,
bring peace
Ibrahima,
and kill
Ibrahim,
hey,
them.
listen,
bro,
That's
yemen
what
from
they
Mao
do.
ke,
guys, let's be civil,
isalo
guys,
nje ate baila, isalo nje ate
guys,
baila.
let's be civil,
I'm
please.
muted. I'm
Listen.
muted now. You can continue.
Ibrahim and Tuba, please, I beg of you guys, please. I know both of you. What people don't know outside is both of you are pretty close too. You argue fundamentally about a variety of issues on daily basis. This is not animosity. This is called classing of ideas, right? And that yes, there are certain things that could be put out better. We could interact better and listen to each other better, and we are going to be better too. But I don't want people to conceive this as, oh, Ebrima and Dampha and Touba today were having a go at each other, when in fact it's not that. It's not personal,
No,
right?
man,
So I just wanted to put that out there. So thank you both. I don't want to have any of your voice anymore. We're going to have Marr to conclude this. Marr, once again, thank you very much for the work that you're doing in the Gambia. I think anybody who knows you or is around you or even heard of some of the organizations that you're involved with know how serious you are. And I just want to, before you come in, just challenge you to keep doing what you do, because Gambia needs more institutions and really more individuals like you. You know, I've seen you for a very long time. I've been around you. I know what this means to you. You are not doing this, as a lot of people would say, because you are being moved by the material resources or incentives that you are getting out of it. Even though that matter, because people should be rewarded for their work. But I know the essence for which you do this kind of work. So I want to categorically emphasize that, to say that you are a good person. You care deeply about that country. Things that you are doing are things that I think we need very much in our country to grow our democracy. So I'm pretty sure, even though this report is out, there's a lot of mixed feelings, mixed receptions about it, both good and bad. But in summary, what would you say are things that you guys can do better or should do better? And also, generally, what is your feeling in terms of the reception of the report so far?
Thank you, Ebrima. Thank you for those wonderful words. I'm going to say the same thing about you. maybe people don't know about the work that you've been doing, bringing this. This is not the first time that you're enabling environment for political debates. You did this with Bakari since 2016, right? Bringing Halifa Saleh and a representative of Mama Kande, which was chaired by Almami Funding Tal of UDP long time ago. So this is not the first time that you've been doing this with Bakari. So we respect you creating this type of platform to have this type of discussion. And thank you, Dampha. Thank you, Touba. Unfortunately, I was not allowed. I didn't allow him to drag me in this mathematics court of proceedings. It's not my field. I'm only going to talk about the data and what the data says. So I need to make this disclaimer. There is nowhere in this world where you are going to get a research 100% perfect, right? The analogy that I was given here regarding when you go to a lab and they take less than 1 liter of your blood to test, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. You understand? But they are not going to take the whole, the whole of your blood and to tell you that this is what happens. No, most likely they get it right. You understand? Sometimes people will be diagnosed for something else, but the results are out there. They will say, no, I don't have it. Until the signs keep worsening, and then they will go back to the doctor for treatment when it's already late. And that's exactly what polls do. We screen through the sentiments of the voters. Elections are very sensitive. We get the opinions of the people. That's why we call it public opinion polls. We are not saying this is what is going to happen in 2026. These are the most topical issues. We did our sampling, a representative sample size, went to all the 53 constituencies, interviewed people with consent, without forcing them, without bribing them, and we get the facts. And the facts is what we are communicating. So it is for politicians and everyone to take it or to leave it, right? We also invite critics, like what Touba Marre is doing. And some parts I agree, or obviously I will not agree with them, especially when it comes to the gender representative. We're going to make sure when we're doing this next time, we encourage our enumerators to explain to the female respondents to participate in this, but we are not going to force them, right? And the other thing is, when you are doing polls, you cannot give context about what happened before. That is totally wrong, because the polls that you are doing is about the sentiments of the people at this particular time when you were doing the survey. So we cannot say 2021 because of candidate X did this and the poll is now saying this is wrong. Because what happened in 2021, there are so many events that took place and people shift from one party to another, from one candidate to another. So people's sentiments, people's party loyalty fluctuates. You have those that are die-hard, you have those that are always undecided, or those that look at issues-based politics. So you cannot do that in polls. And I totally understand. This is very seldom in this country. The poll started in somewhere around 2021. CepRass and Afrobarometer being the one that are doing this, right? And these things are very sensitive. And I totally understand that. But one thing we cannot do is to bring out manufactured data in order to please a candidate or to please a certain population. If people disagree with our polls, they can do the same and use 10,000 respondents as the sample size of the voter population, and then give us their report. Maybe to American go ahead and then do that, right? You do your report and then bring it out. So that is
Marre, sorry. I mean, you can make your statements without that. If you do that, that's why I will interject. You are saying most part of your conclusion. You are putting that on me. That's not what I said, and that's not what I'm asking you
Yeah,
to
but
do.
listen,
So
Tuba. Part of
yeah,
your
but now
conclusion,
maybe Touba Marre can do that. I'm not the one doing the
no, but
polls.
listen, Tuba. I think that's also unfair to Marr, because in your conclusion, you made a statement, literally making conclusions about Marr's report and CepRass report. But Marr did not interject.
But what
No,
did
just
Marr
listen.
told
Just
us
let
that
me
he
come.
did not write the
No, but
report?
let me just come.
No. I
No,
am
let me
saying
come, Tuba.
Ebrima. He
I'm
said
just
maybe I
saying.
can do that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
I
asking
think
them to do.
I'm saying you need to be fair, right?
I am being fair to him. I'm being fair to my
No.
embodiment. I'm fair
I
to
think
him.
as a moderator,
No. But like, you cannot
so you're
conclude
not
and
even letting
trying
me
to put me
speak.
under the bus. That's not what.
What we cannot do is to please people's emotions with manufactured data. We're going to continue to do this. And we totally get this before the data comes out because it's sensitive and people are not going to like it because, as Touba Marre said, right, he has someone else that he's very close to, and if the person comes out to run for a presidency, he's going to support that person. So if the data is not obviously
Exactly. This is not what I said. I did not say I'm close to someone to run for presidency. I never said that. This is the problem. Marr, you were not listening to me. Stop saying I say something. No. I said as of now there are no official candidates. Yeah, but did I say that Yankuba is running when Ebrima said his name? I never said that. And Yankuba never said that he's running. So when you are putting that, you guys are just trying to build this whole thing about your animosity against Yankuba. That is on you, not me.
Oh
Go to
no,
Yankuba and talk to him.
nobody here
Hey,
has any
Ibrahima,
animosity
why
against
are they
Yankuba.
doing that? Why? Like, go to Yankuba and talk to him. Marr, if you want, you can use any samples that
Okay,
you want.
Tuba,
Yes, you can go off.
I think we're
When
veering
I would
into
have
Yes.
don't
to
don't
conclude,
Hey,
Ibrahim,
Aman Kawadi, you can't put me under the dog in the last minute.
is,
I did not say that. I
to
support
conclude,
their research academically. I have a different interpretation practically. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that you have to use 10,000. I did say it fits. But like the interpretation is we have different interpretation. What does that have to deal with Yankuba? If you have any difference with Yankuba, go and tell Yankuba owes the people of West Coast. That's not on me.
okay. So what I'm not
Mark,
going to
can
allow,
you
yeah,
in
I'm
a
just going
minute?
to
I
conclude
think
here. What I'm
yes,
not going
please.
to allow is creating bad blood. Yankuba is a very good guy. When he came to office, his first collaboration was with us, Gambia Participate, and we supported building his website, and that is still live. And we also work with him in simplifying his council's budget. So we've worked with him, and we work with all politicians and political parties. We work with the UDP, we work with the NPP. That is what we do. We are neutral in our work. So I don't have any problem with any candidate. But like I said, I hope and I wish, if I can put it away, I can bring a data that is going to please Touba Marre or all those that
No,
are
no,
not
no, no. You don't have to do that. Not
aware
me.
before.
I will never
Unfortunately,
ask.
I cannot do
I
that.
have no interest in that. You don't have to bring data that pleases him. I am for the Gambia. Whoever becomes Gambia's president is left to the Gambian people, not me. You are not doing the work to please me. It's just that we are having a discussion on your
since you
work
said
that
you are for
came
the
to the
Gambia,
public.
Okay,
Sorry,
everybody.
that's an
Ebonyari,
Let's
Dampha
I
Ego.
just want to thank
let me
you, Ibrahim.
brothers
And
Ibrahim
just want to
Dampha,
Dampha
Ibrahim
Ebonyari. Huh?
I said
Whoever becomes Gambia's president is not on me. It's on the general electorate. Whoever
Okay,
they voted.
on that note, gents,
can I
Yes,
conclude, Ibrahim?
thank you.
on a final
Can I
note,
conclude? Can I conclude,
Mark,
please?
if
No.
you mention Tua's name, we're not going to close. So can you
Yes, if you call my name, I will come and clarify. I did not say that you should do that. What you should do
because
is not my
you
work.
on this platform going
Right.
forward, you are not
All right.
allowed. You are not
All
allowed
right.
to mention Tua's name.
Well, I will mention his name where necessary, and I
Yes,
will
but
talk.
just say what
No,
I
if
said,
you want to
not
mention
anything.
Tuba's name, just
Mark,
mention
just
my
a
name.
general
Just say
comment,
Ibrahim
please.
No, no,
Yankuba.
no, 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 no. You cannot
I will.
substitute me for Ibrahim. You
I
can
would.
call
I
my
would
name
mention.
Mark. I don't have any problems with that, but don't misquote me.
No, I'm not misquoting you. Look,
Yeah, you are saying
everyone.
because you have a likelihood for certain candidate. If I'm a Hanyaka, just say his
No,
name. Which
that's
candidate?
what you said in the intro. That's what I'm saying. But
No,
anyways,
no, no. Because
people need
Ibrahim
to.
Sonko said it, and that's why I clarified. I never
Okay.
say. I did say there are no candidates as it stands. Who is going for
Welcome,
presidency?
boy
Okay.
now with boy.
So my
No,
my
no, no,
my
no, no. Hey,
challenge is
Iman Damfaje, ite for expect so dum bari nya buga nyato je. Ba ite be
Ah.
da kuma ba fole ka fo ibente fiat.
Okay, Mark,
Hey,
I think I can
no,
just
you will not
conclude.
drag me under the bus. It will
my
not
my
happen here. Atekela.
my
Guys,
concluding
Atekela anu ate baila.
guys, Tua, I'm not
my
gonna lie,
concluding
bro.
remark my
It's
concluding
been
remark will
great.
be this. Really, I enjoyed the the conversation, and
Yeah.
like I said in the beginning, I read Touba Marre's piece, I read that of Dampha piece, and obviously we take certain issues very seriously, and that's what has been helping us in improving our work, right? I didn't say that our research is 100% perfect, and we are not also saying this is what is going to happen in 2026. But mind you, in 2021, when we do PVT, which means parallel vote tabulation, our data predicted that Barrow was going to get 53% of the votes. And when we do election observation, right, we are not covering all the 730 voting centers. We do our sampling just like we did with this, right? And when we declare that an election is free and fair based on the results, not the events that took place before the E-Day, but the results, if we declare the election results are free and fair, is based on data that we have at our disposal. You understand? So I'm not saying anyone should take it or dispute it, but what I'm saying is, right? We rely heavily on data to make our judgments. We rely heavily on data to influence our advocacy because we need these leads that are data driven for us to be able to make decisions that will not be expensive. So we're going to continue to do this, right? And I will reach out to Tubamari if we
Yes.
need suggestions and improvements in the work that we are doing in this area. And I will also reach out to Ibrahim Dampha on this. They're all amazing Gambians, and I think this is what we wanted. We want this country to be filled with experts. This was rare before, especially those data scientists. They are rare in this country. So if we have those and they're critical, we are not going to say that we are going to dispute everything. Obviously, we can disagree to agree on certain issues. So I just wanted to say thank you very much for all this, and assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Thank you
salam.
very
Thank
much.
you. Yes,
Right?
thank you. Thank you.
Everybody, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Touba, Marre. Thank you, Ebrima Dampha. Thank you, Mr. Marr Njang, for all of your time and really wonderful contributions being here today. Like I said, it may seem contentious, but it's a necessary contentious debate that I think is important for us to have. And we'll continue to have these dialogues, right? And Marr put it very aptly when he said, I think this is what we want. This is the Gambia that we want, right? To have the sons of the country being able to be trained in various areas and be able to sit down and have conversations without animosity, to dialogue on ideas on important things that could better the lives of all of us and also those that are back home. So I really and sincerely wish to thank all of you once again for all of your time and contribution, especially on a very short notice to be on this platform and conversation. And this is just one of many. Like most of you, I don't need to arrange anything with you. I literally just need to pick the phone and call you and say, hey, Touba, you want to do this, or Ebrima or Marr? And Marr is going to be coming back. Marr and I are going to have a discussion about his personal life and journey to the work that he's doing in the Gambia as well. So you're going to see Marr sometime in the coming weeks as well. But to wrap this up, thank you all for the wonderful contributions. Thank you to our audience who were also here with us to have this conversation, and for all of your wonderful and controversial feedbacks that are in the comment section for
In
Ebrima.
the fake accounts, Touba's fake account.
No. You see, yeah, Ibrahim Ajala, he's doing the same thing. I know why you came here like that, trying to put me under the bus. I never
No,
said what
I
you
see all
said.
the fake
You
account
know,
comment.
but
That's it.
listen,
and Marr, you guys did very well. Thank you and keep it up. I'm not saying it should be 100%. My problem is that the research as a whole can never be. You are not God. We are not gods. So we do things and then we present them to the society. But when it's come to practical implications, like you said, you are
Bye
not a member
bye.
party, that is
Send
fine.
me your speech.
Thank you. Thank you.
Send me your speech. Yeah, send me your speech. Bye.
hey, I
Hey,
appreciate you all.
Ibrahim, itenganyolo ne, you have a lot of my speeches. You know it.
Hey, bye bye.